It's 11:11. Make a wish. Hi. So, we are going to be taking a little bit of a spring break. So, this week we have about a 10-minute episode for you, and it gets a little political, but it's something that's near and dear to our hearts. Let's go ahead and let Luna take it away, and at the end, I will give you some resources for.
The TikTok ban is really important for those of us concerned about disability rights and other equalities. Here, let me tell you why. Also, first, this isn't about the TikTok ban. That word really isn't the full picture. If you don't understand what's happening with TikTok, just go search it. Other people are talking about it that know more than me. But my point is, this platform offers something that we don't have in any other venue, really. And it goes back to their secret algorithm and what we have created here in community, which is antithesis to the systematic oppression that we face otherwise. So let me go back to why I said this is about disability rights. I'm going to tell my personal story, but it really is not unique. So back in the pandemic, when people started getting on TikTok in droves, we called it this silly little dancing app, right? Well, then some of us started to realize it was connecting us to people like us, and it was even connecting us to people like us in terms of our health. And sometimes it was diagnosing us. Can TikTok diagnose you? No, it cannot. A qualified physician needs to diagnose you. However, if you have something that's considered a rare health disorder, there's a likelihood that you have been participating in healthcare and don't have answers. So then when you come onto this silly little dancing app and you start to get answers that the healthcare system has failed you in finding, this is about disability rights. Also, it created a community for us. So here's my story. My name's Luna, by the way. I am the co-host of the Hacking Hypermobility podcast, and I started out as a disability creator on accident. So I joined TikTok for fun because my kids wanted to do the dances in the pandemic, and I was a little dysregulated, and so I started scrolling, and eventually I found people like me, and that was really strange for me to experience because I had never met someone else with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I had not met anyone else that was an ADHD and autistic woman. And then I found my community, and I call it the zebra dazzle, the zebra herd. I hate the word dazzle. I already mentioned that. But because the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome's mascot is the zebra, I don't really love zebras, but that's what it is. And the reason is because of a way they teach diagnosis in medical school to, if you hear hoofbeats, you want to think a horse, not just a zebra, because the safest thing to do to care for your patients is work down the list from the most obvious, most common health cause of an issue down to the most rare. But the fact of the matter is, those rare things do happen. And even more concerning is the most common type of EDS called hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is not that rare. It is unfortunately just rarely diagnosed. And so many of us are gaslit and have experienced what we call medicalized trauma now. And we didn't know that. We believed in the systematic oppression of our disability until this app. And we have a unique disability in that it typically comes with a different neurotype as well. So we are doubly disabled, and our disability is a systemic disability. It is a disorder of something called connective tissue, which is what holds together all of the pieces of your body. And it really happens at the cellular level. So it affects all of us a little bit differently, but some of us in such an uncanny, similarly way. and there's really not enough known about it. Physicians rarely have more than a cursory overview or lack an understanding of not just how to diagnose, but how to treat and help manage us, because this is not currently a curable condition. And the fact is that the most common type, HEDS, is a dominant thing. So it's highly likely that if someone in your family has it, that it's passed on. And there is a large overlap with different neurotypes, including ADHD and autism, which also kind of presents other issues, obviously. And then there's another large overlap with some other common, very debilitating chronic illnesses that come with it, including things like POTS, which is a type of dysautonomia, which is a dysfunction of your autonomic nervous system and is frequently just misdiagnosed as anxiety. There is also a common comorbidity of histamine intolerance like MCAS. And there's a big, long list of other comorbid or commonly co-occurring conditions. It's in my bio if you want. But the point is, all these little puzzle pieces are never fit together in the American healthcare system. TikTok did that for so many of us. And so many of my followers did not know or have the resources to advocate for themselves until they met me. And they didn't meet me in person. TikTok created this magic. And so let's overlay that magical algorithm that creates community beyond disability of one little zebra herd. There's many other disabilities besides ours that are underrepresented or undersupported. Many health conditions are not supported well in the American healthcare system. But there are other conditions in life besides health conditions that we've created community in. We have been able to lift up voices for all sorts of marginalized people and not just disabled people. I do have a call to action. I very rarely ask you to do something. I want you to click outside of this app. I want you to get political. I did not even put a name down when I voted in the primaries, if that tells you something. But I will call my representation, and I will urge you to call your representation and express why access to this form of social media is important and why impeding on our rights is not going to be tolerated. That being said, I don't really share my content in other places. I've tried to share some things on other meta-based platforms, but I just never really got around to it. Our podcast show page is also found on Instagram. If you want to follow us on YouTube and Instagram, just look up Hacking Hypermobility. That's where we are. And if you want to follow my personal account, I'll work on adding people. I have it locked down, but it's the same name on Instagram. Do I think that this will actually go through? I don't know. I don't know enough to tell you that. And I'm not trying to sound alarmist, but I think this is the right time, if you have these spoons, meaning the energy, the emotional space, to use your voice. To my bendy baddies, go be badasses.
Okay, here's what I want you to know. Calling is the most effective way to reach your representation. If you're like me, you do not like making phone calls. I especially don't like making phone calls to people I do not know or who might be not so nice to me. If you want to get some help, there are organizations such as fivecalls.org, which will, I believe, make phone calls for you. And you can also go online and look for scripts where you can practice what to say. There are also like calling your rep parties, where you can get a group of you together and just all of you sit around and call your representatives. I would recommend to call both their local and DC offices, because both of those offices should be staffed, and you would just be increasing, your drawing attention to the matter at hand. Most representation does have an official social media account, and they do have people monitor those, but I would say your best bet would be to reach out via phone or email or letters. If your representative isn't afraid of their constituents, like many of them seem to be, and has a town hall, go to it. And if they don't offer a virtual option for the disability community, demand it. Because if there's one thing the pandemic taught us, besides how much we don't actually care about each other, is that we can do things that we didn't think were possible, like have virtual town halls and meetings. Were it not for TikTok and the pandemic, I would not have met Luna. With that, see you in 2 weeks. It'll be another short one, and then we'll bring it back in full force in April. Bye.